At the end of this video, you'll know when you would choose to use the Google Cloud Shell command prompt as opposed to connecting from your local machine to Google Cloud. In this video, we'll explore the command line that Google Cloud offers in order to access its resources directly. Open up your incognito window and access console.cloud.google.com to get to your GCP dashboard. Make sure you're signed in and make sure that My Test Project is selected. You can also click on the drop down available there to see what other projects are available. Here you can see my test project, that's the project that we'll work on. I also have my first project and a project that's associated with my organization. There is some activity on my API dashboard. That's because I just created a VM for practice and that showed up here. Click on the navigation menu with horizontal lines on the top left and let's look at the billing details for this project. The billing page is something that you'll need to be familiar with. You'll be taken to a page which indicates that you're on your free trial and when it expires, and it indicates what projects are linked to this billing account. Now, in order to access all the features that are needed for the demos that you'll see in this course, you need to upgrade to a premium account. If you see the upgrade button on the top right of your dashboard, click on it and upgrade to a premium account. If you don't see it, no worries, just ignore it and you're fine. Again, you won't be billed unless you exceed your credit limit. All the demos in this course require that you keep billing enabled for this project. Once you're done, you can simply disable billing or delete this project altogether. Before we create our first VM instance, let's understand the Cloud Shell. A Cloud Shell is a machine instance that runs on the Google Cloud, which serves as your command line. All GCP accounts have a Cloud Shell which they can use to connect to other instances on the cloud platform. The cool thing about the Cloud Shell is that it provides a complete environment for you to connect to various resources in the cloud. The cool thing about it is that you can directly use the G Cloud command line tools to connect to resources in the cloud, create resources, provision it, and so on. You don't need to install and set up anything. The Cloud Shell is what you'd use if, say, your organization does not allow you to download software on your local machine. It's a great alternative in that case, which just works. When you first connect to the Cloud Shell or the G Shell, Google has to spin up an active instance to use for this. It might take a little while, so be patient. And there is our Cloud Shell, and you can see that it's associated with this project, the My Test project. It has the project ID right there on the prompt. Let's take the gcloud command line tool for a test run. The gcloud is Google's command line tool, which allows you to work with resources and do a whole bunch of operations. It's especially useful if you want to script operations and just run a script rather than performing it manually over and over again. The gcloud auth list will show you all the credentials that can work with my test project. The Cloud Shell is a fully fledged command line on your browser. So you can run Linux commands such as clear and they will just work. Your Google Cloud Platform has an associated config which you can use to set up your default project, the default zone where you want your VM instances set up, and so on. You can view what project is the current default by typing out gcloud config list project. You can see that my test project is the default. If you need help on what commands are available with gcloud, simply type gcloud-h and you'll see a whole bunch of information. Or if you need help for a particular command, let's say it's the config command, you can simply say gcloud config-help. And this essentially throws up the man page for that particular command. Everything you need is right there on screen. Gcloud help config is the same command with a slightly different syntax. The gcloud config list command shows you what properties have been set so far on the configuration. This will only display those properties which are different from the defaults. For example, you can see here that the account has been set to janani@lunicorn.com and the project is my test project ID. To see all config property settings, including the defaults, you simply say gcloud config list dash dash all. The properties that say unset are those which have their default values or are not set at all. Because the Cloud Shell is basically just a command line, you can also change the prompt. You can change how you want the prompt to look by exporting the PS1 environment variable, just like you would do on your terminal window on a Mac or Linux system. It's pretty clear that the Cloud Shell is an easy way to get up and running with Google Cloud, and that's what we'll be using in all our demos. You typically use this option when you can't download software to your local machine. If you're going to be intensely developing on the Google Cloud and you can download software, it's better to download the G Cloud SDK and use that instead. That offers a permanent connection to your instances on the cloud instead of a temporary VM instance which has to be spun up in order to use Cloud Shell.